Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Georgina Capdevila Cano, and I am the Creative Learning Producer at the Creative Computing Institute, or CCI. And it's an absolute pleasure to be hosting the Diploma Show Party today. Let me just say before we start that it's been truly inspiring to see students across CCI adapting and thriving throughout what's been a very changing and challenging year at CCI and across the world. And the diploma students in particular have shown such an eager to share, to support each other, to just work through this absolute amazing academic year. And today we are here to celebrate them and celebrate the work that they've done. So today we'll have the chance to hear from Joel Gethin Lewis, who's the main tutor at the Diploma in Creative Computing. And we'll also have 6 students that are going to graduate from the Diploma in Creative Computing this year, and that will then go back to their original course at UAL and complete their degree with this new creative computing skill set in their hands. So each student will be presenting 5 minutes each, and they will share how has been their experience being part of the diploma and the projects that they've been developing over the year. And as you'll see, they all come from different backgrounds, different courses, and different colleges across UAL. So hopefully that gives you an idea, an overview of how diverse the nature of their work is whilst completing the course at CCI. At the end of the session, we will also be holding a Q&A, kind of informal discussion between all of us. So there, you're more than welcome to paste any comments, any thoughts that you have or questions about the course. If there's anything that you would like to ask the students or Joel or myself about CCI, the diploma, the work that they've been developing, etc., that will be the space to do so. So please use the chat that you can find on YouTube on your right-hand corner if you're joining from a laptop or a computer, and below the video if you're joining from a mobile or tablet device. So without further ado, I would like now to invite on screen Joel, Jade, Joseph, Mark, Rocio, William, and Gabrielle. We'll all say hello to everyone. And after that, we'll jump straight. Hey. So nice to see everyone out here.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Shall we start a round of just like quick intros before we start the presentations? Yeah, we'll go in the order of the screen. Joel, do you want to start?
Hello, everyone. I'm Joel. I'm the lead tutor on the Diploma in Creative Computing. And in a little moment, I'm just going to do a general introduction to the course before we get into all the individual presentations from the students. And I'm so glad to be here today.
Hello, I think it's my turn now. I'm Rocio. I'm also a diploma student. I usually study graphics at CSM. And yeah, I'm happy to be presenting here today, talking to everyone.
Hello, I'm Jade. I'm also on the diploma and do graphic design at Central St Martin's as well. And I'm excited to show you what I've been up to.
Hello, I'm Gabrielle. I did user interface and user design at LCC, and yeah, I'm just like ready to show all the things I've learned that expanded my knowledge for my practice.
Hi all, my name is William Brooks and I study BA Photography with Creative Computing at UAL Camberwell, and I'm excited to show you some things we've been getting up to this past year.
Hi all, my name is Mark Gotto. I study illustration at Camberwell, and yeah, it's been a hell of a year. I learned so much, and yeah, I can't wait to show you what I've learned.
Hey, my name's Joe. I'm also from photography, and yeah, I'll be showing some of the stuff that I got up to this year as well, so I'm psyched about that.
Thanks everyone for the intros. Can't wait to see the work that you've been developing. It's the first time for me as well to be in touch with all of your projects, so it's very exciting. So yeah, without further ado, I will just now leave the floor to you, Joel.
Hey everyone, as I just mentioned, I'm Joel Gethin Lewis. I'm the lead tutor on the Diploma in Creative Computing, and hopefully, if you can see my screen, is my screen coming up? Yeah, there we go. I will take you through a little bit about the course. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes now just to go through some of the structure of the course, what it's about, what its aims are. And we're going to start off by looking at the official homepage of the Creative Computing Institute Diploma. And one of the reasons that I teach on this course, and I was so excited to be part of the founding team of it 2 years ago, was that it allows me to work with a huge group of students drawn from all the different courses at UAL. So basically, the way the course works is it sits between the second and third year of your bachelor's, and you can be studying any bachelor's you like at UAL, at any of the colleges all across London. You come and spend a year with us here at the CCI. We're currently based in Camberwell. And you come and spend a year with us, and then you can add with creative computing to whatever you're doing your degree in. And then you go back newly refreshed and inspired with creative computing knowledge and go back to your course and complete your third year. So it will be 4 years in total. And here are just some of the reasons, great reasons to apply that's up on the website. It's a really interdisciplinary course. First of all, in the students, as I said, they're drawn from the entire gamut of UAL courses. So lots of people from lots of different backgrounds studying at lots of different places across London. We're really excited about this getting to a kind of material understanding of computational technology, right? So not just a technical knowledge of what things are and how programming works and how software works, but a cultural sense of how software and digital technology can be used in society. It's very research informed, so it's all about integrating and thinking about how computational thinking and creative digital knowledge can be integrated into your practice. You're part of the institute here at Creative Computing, which obviously has people doing full-time degrees, masters, PhDs, and entire research programs. And I think the most important part of it, actually, of the whole course, is learning to think critically about technology, right? So we're really into this idea of questioning the trajectory of technology and thinking about how we can shape it to go into better, more sustainable and more helpful directions for everyone. So just to give you a quick course overview, as I said, you can get whatever your course degree is with creative computing, and it's made up of 6 units. So the first block of units that take part over the first half of the year. The first unit, Unit 1, is the one that I teach, and that's all about learning about creative coding and creative computing frameworks, thinking about technologies such as JavaScript and C++ and languages such as P5 and open frameworks. Then there's another course, Unit 2, which is all about thinking about computational futures and artificial intelligence, which is really about kind of thinking about on the cutting edge how we can use machine learning to make a better world, how we can integrate it with artistic and design practice. And then the final unit of that first half of the year is all about learning about physical computing and visual coding. So really learning about how to get outside of the computer into physical devices and how those can affect the space and world around you using platforms such as Arduino. In the second half of the year, I teach Unit 4, which is all about coding for collaborative app development. So that's all about using a development platform like Xcode to make iOS apps and other technologies in that area. Then there's another unit called Work in the Digital Creative Industries, and that's really about integrating the knowledge that you've got from the previous unit's work and the entire year into how that can be engaged into a creative practice and thinking about diversity and diversity of roles and diversity of people in those areas. And then the final unit is all about computational environments and thinking about how your practice can relate to that. And that builds up to really thinking in a spatial way about space, thinking about how you can use camera, sound, and other technologies to make entirely digital spaces. Assessments are broken up between multiple choice tests, timed exams, coursework, essays, and presentations. And here's some of the team that are on the course. There's me. Kenneth Lim does a bunch of teaching as well, Alex Fafega. And I think if we skip over to this window, I can actually show you the GitHub of my teaching for that first unit in creative computing. And here we've got the code of conduct for the course and the department, which is really important. I stole that from Golan Levin who's based over in the States, one of my mentors, using the think principles. So when you're speaking to people, think, is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? A little bit of a breakdown in terms of the block and term structure. So block 1 is the first half of the year, block 2 is the second half. And just a breakdown as well as some of the people teaching on that course. So Alice Stewart and I teaching the first unit, the amazing Alex Verfeger and Dr. Rebecca Fiebnick teaching about computational futures and artificial intelligence. And then Alice Stewart and Indra Knight getting involved on the visual coding and physical computing. And then that structure then follows over pretty much to block 2 as well. So me teaching again with Alice on learning how to do collaborative app development. Alex Verfeger really bringing over all his incredible knowledge and vision in terms of his creative practice and his studio, and educating everyone about how they can get into making the digital creative industries more reflective of the world that we're in. And then finally, Indra Knight and Alice Stewart doing their awesome unit about thinking about computational environments. So I'm a real big believer in open source. I've got this entire README up here in terms of teaching style, assessment, thinking about the breakdown of the course itself. And just to finish up, I'm just looking at my timings. Okay, I've got 5 minutes left. I thought I'd give you all a little preview of the kind of teaching that I do, and going through some of the lectures from that first unit. So this is the introduction to the course. All the lectures are up online. So if you want to take a look at the lecture notes, you're welcome to do that. And you can check it out through my my GitHub page. So here's the introduction. This is literally the introduction to the course that I gave to the students at the beginning of this year, talking a little bit about myself and giving you all the very special name diplomats. If you come on the diploma, you will become a diplomat, and you will also be gifted with one of these beautiful little rubber ducks. I'm afraid I'll only be able to explain what the rubber duck means if you come on the course. So there's a little teaser for you lot to come out there. A little bit about talking about my background, some of the things that I've worked on, working with studios like United Visual Artists and Universal Everything, where I am now, and also setting up my own studio, Hellicar and Lewis. And I think that's really important, that all the people involved in the course, all the lecturers, actually have their own practice, whether that's a research practice, a design or commercial practice, or an artistic practice. And I think that's really essential for us to be able to practice what we teach, and show that we actually believe in the roots and technologies and methodologies that we use. A little introduction to the CCI, how excited I am about teaching people that have already got their practice established, and then getting through the kind of structure of the course, talking about learning JavaScript in the first part of the unit and C++ in the latter half, and really centering ourselves around this fantastic technology of P5.js, which is the main platform and technology that I'll be teaching you in the first half of the diploma. That was originally created by the absolutely extraordinarily fantastic Lauren McCarthy, but now has many contributors all around the world. And then moving on to Open Frameworks, which is a technology that uses another language, C++, in the latter half of the units. So basically, the too long didn't read summary of what I'm going to teach you and what the diploma is all about is about, of course, thinking about engaging with creative coding, but exploding some brains along the way with some references and concepts outside of creative coding that I think you will find interesting and useful in whichever direction you go after being at the diploma. I've got 1 minute left, so I'm just going to zip along some of these things. And this idea really of me trying to pass along these cheat codes to get further to the next level than I did, and thinking about lots of interesting concepts from many different areas, thinking about creative coding, thinking about how computational thinking can be useful in many ways. But most critically, the most important thing that I want to teach everyone is how to teach you to be autodidacts. And an autodidact is just a technical word for someone who can teach themselves. And that's what I'm most excited about at CCI, is giving you the methods to be able to teach yourself, to make a sustainable practice for yourselves, but also to be able to help others along the way. So I think that's the end of my time. It's been amazing giving you this little preview into what CCI is and its structure. If you've got any questions at all for me, we'll be able to talk about that at the end of the student presentations, when hopefully we'll be able to have a big, lovely Q&A. But I'll hand you back now to the extraordinary, fantastic dancer, joiner of souls, and general inspiration to everyone out there, Georgina. And I'll be back at the end of the course. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Joe. Thanks for this wonderful presentation. Now we'll just get it started with students' presentations. And we've got, first of all, Josef Murmann. Josef, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Okay. Hey. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through one of the projects that I made this year, and then if there's time at the end, I'll just run through my sort of website, and we can look at some of that stuff. So just a little bit of background, first of all. I came from photography, as I said before. Coming into the course, I had some but very minimal coding experience, and I love building cameras. That's like my whole jam. So I built this like camera out of a CNC machine that I built from an old Etch-a-Sketch that is controlled by stepper motors with an Arduino. So the idea is that the head on the end of the CNC machine tracks along a spiral and it holds onto a light-dependent resistor, and then I use the values from that to build up an image. So I have a little video here that shows sort of what's going on, tracking along up and down using the sort of left and right wheels to control where we're going. So it's like a sort of robotic camera. And you can see here, it's like made it to with this camera obscura. So we're just like projecting the light from what we see in front of us onto this camera back with a CNC machine on the back. And then these are the images that I get out of this camera. So they're this sort of squared off spiral. And you can see like this is on the left is a self-portrait, sort of slightly blurry self-portrait of myself. And then on the right, the sort of classic homemade camera, you know, trope of it's literally just pointing your camera out the window because that's the easiest thing to do. So yeah, and this project was kind of like a really like amalgamation of like a lot of the things that we learned in the first and second unit. There's a lot of like P5.js in here and JavaScript. There's a lot of Arduino and like physical computing, but as well as that to get the computer and my computer to talk to the camera. They're both running off of like a local server. So I'm really tying together like a lot of the things that I learned from the course and just like mashing them all together with some stuff that I brought from my old course into like something new. So this is, yeah, so I was really psyched to bring like all of these things that I learned all together into one big project. And then I've got a little bit of time, so I'll quickly show you my website here. So I made this website just all in WebGL, which is a part of P5. Well, it's another library for JavaScript that you can use with P5.js. And just to showcase some of the projects that I've been working on. So I've got a lot of digital morphogenesis, which is just a fancy word for replicating nature in with code. So you've got some differential growth. And these are just like a lot of, you get a lot of, what are they called? Like tasks, I guess. And then you can kind of take those forward and, you know, push them as far as you can or as far as you want to create, you know, new stuff. But yeah, so I worked on a lot of this stuff. I got a lot of really great references from Joel, just, you know, asking for more work and more, you know, interesting things to look into. This is a digital underwater shoal of fish, and they all shoal together totally realistically, like all of the maths about how fish shoal is like really, really like, you know, it's really like constrained. Like you can really just write like, you know, whatever, like 30 lines of code, and it's just like realistic fish. It's cool. It's crazy. So yeah, so I've got a few projects there. I'm sure I can put this the link to this if anybody's interested later on. But yeah, so that's sort of what I've been getting up to this year. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks for this beautiful presentation. We've got a few questions on the chat that we will go through during the Q&A. So
Sure.
yeah, thanks a lot for your time and for contributing, Joseph. Thank you. The next student we have is William Brooks. So William, I'm going to invite you onto the screen so you can give us a presentation. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is William Brooks and I study BA Photography with Creative Computing at UAL Camberwell. So for my presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about a personal project I've been exploring this past year. So I started the project Contact during lockdown, when we had less and less physical interaction, and the way we communicated was almost exclusively through digital devices. Because of this, I thought it'd be prudent to explore one of the many telematic systems we as humans use to communicate globally. As an amateur radio license holder, I began looking at something called DXing, which is essentially the phenomenon of transmitting and disseminating non-commercial messages globally, and seeing how far those transmissions go and can still be heard. When a message is successfully heard, it's often logged through something called a DX cluster, which you see on the right-hand screen. So I've got a little pointer to this screen grab here. If we just scrutinize this image real quick, we see a data log of global contacts between two individuals. So here is an identifier here and an identifier here, and these are call signs. These are individuals dotted, throughout the globe. And what's happening is essentially one of those call signs is transmitting a message, and the other one is logging that message, which is kind of the equivalent of saying, I hear you. And as a result, we have this log of different connections between 2 points of reference, right, that are happening in real time. So although these connections may seem novel when we consider the familiarity of direct messaging with digital applications, the reality is radio correspondence is not guaranteed, nor is it linear. Messages aren't relayed through a variety of servers and then directed to recipients. When an individual transmits a message, there's actually no guarantee that there will be a recipient. So there's an element of chance, and there's another chance that a connection will even be made due to RF propagation. So with this in mind, I thought it'd be interesting to try and visually articulate this, use this kind of aleatorism to create changing and shifting composition, plotting each of the geographic coordinates for each call sign. So as these logs are live, I was keen to use my new coding skills to attempt to use the aleatoric nature of these contacts to create live digital compositions. So initially I began by looking for a public API. However, I couldn't actually find one. So what I did was I looked at other DX websites and I looked at their network requests and tried to figure out how they did it. And fortunately, I was able to actually get hold of a JSON data stream using Node.js. I thought I'd just add that a lot of the code I had to write was asynchronous. I mean, the vast majority of it was. So what I did was I often had a sketchbook on hand and I'd be jotting notes and trying to map out the flow of how the code worked, just so I had a full grasp of what was occurring when I was writing it. So in order to map those contacts that I was speaking about earlier, I need to actually obtain the coordinates of each call sign. So after fetching an XML session ID from call sign database, I then interpolated each call sign into a query string, which you can see here, just for example purposes. So each string has an individual call sign, and what that would return is this XML DOM here. So in this case, I'm looking up a Lithuanian call sign. And what I do is I retrieve the latitude and longitude for each call sign. So because I'm working with a lot of data, it's all well and good assuming that every time I do an XML lookup for a call sign, it'll actually return the data I need. Often there are many occasions where perhaps the data wouldn't be publicly available, so I couldn't access the coordinates. So what I had to do was omit that from the incoming data, as well as the corresponding call sign. If I didn't do that and just left one of the call signs but not the other, I just left with dots when I went to map it in Leaflet.js. So using this parse data, I then used Leaflet.js to try and plot each coordinate point, and this gave me this visual. So here are the visual responses on two separate occasions. So the white frame you can see, you can kind of interchange that for a geographical map of the planet, the flat Earth, as it were. What I've done is I've specifically substituted that geographical map for a white background because I wanted to illuminate each thread being made in real time. I wanted the emphasis to not be on where they occurred in the world, but rather on the shifting rectilinear compositions themselves. That aleatoric nature, so that element of chance due to RF propagation, is evidenced by the change in positioning and direction within the frame. So I'm conscious of time, so I'll just wrap up on this last slide. Here are 3 static images of contact drawings. So I call these contemporary drawings because although the works take a digital form, the visual itself is instigated by global agents collaborating in the physical world. Each line begins and ends with a human on an international level, irrespective of their nationality and cultural identity. They are ultimately and unknowingly informing the shifting composition through their interaction. And I thought this was particularly poignant considering that we live in an age of growing indifference despite our ever-growing interconnectedness. And I'm just looking at the time now, so I'll conclude with that. And I thank you all for listening to me and look forward to hearing other people's projects. Thank you.
Thank you, William, for this super insightful presentation. We've got next up is Jade. So I'm going to invite Jade to join us on the screen.
Hello.
Jade, the mic is yours.
Hi. So I'm Jade Pughe, and I've done the Creative Computing Diploma, and I came from Central St Martin's doing graphic design. I thought I'd just show you like some of the projects that I've done over the year. So we started out by doing learning P5JS through a series of exercises, like doing interactive stuff with Joel, which was really handy. And then the practical exam was we were asked to come up with like a wallpaper or something that you would use as like a pattern. And so I made this, and I was really chuffed with that because it's the first time I've actually coded something cute. And we learn AI and ML with Alex and Rebecca, and that was really interesting. So learning stuff like PoseNet and ML5. And learning Arduino with Indira, so how to make like circuits and connect that to P5JS sketches through Visual Studio Code. And then I started developing my own project, and I was looking into soft circuits and stuff. And that's when I made Harness Your Sexuality, which is exploring how hardware can be used to help promote sexual intimacy during isolation, targeting specifically those who struggle with body confidence. This LED harness helps users see their body in a new light. So this was made using Adafruit NeoPixels and like conductive thread. So that was fun. And then learning more Arduino after Christmas. And we were actually taught how to do soft circuits. So it turned out I didn't need to suffer teaching myself how to do it. And also learning about the Arduino Nano. And then learning Swift app development with Joel again, and came up with this app where you could change the HSB color values. So that was fun. First app, exciting. And I also attended the Sex Tech Hackathon, which is where myself, Lily and Sophie came up with Communicate, a wearable band that could help those who struggle to communicate to their sexual partner verbally due to trauma or disability. And it worked by having pressure-sensitive buttons that drove motors, acting like a non-verbal traffic light system, whilst also providing a new form of stimulation. And that was ran by Alice Stewart, who also does a unit on the course. I would have never have heard about this without that. And then, so that inspired this project, Novi, which was my final project, which is inspired by the traffic light system used in BDSM. And it's a non-verbal communication aid that recognizes yes, no, and maybe gestures, triggering red, yellow, and green LEDs that allow you to safely communicate to your sexual partner. For those with trauma or disability, this handheld device allows users to take back their power in the bedroom. And if I've got time, I'll play the video. It's only 30 seconds. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jade, for this wonderful presentation. We'll speak later.
Bye.
Okay, so next up we have is Rocio Rey. Rocio, are you ready? I think you're muted. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go. All yours.
Amazing. Hello. So a bit of background. I'm studying graphics at St. Martin's, and I didn't know much about coding at all. Like I saw some people doing like some electronics and some coding bits, but it felt so foreigner. So everything I know now, it's mainly been learned through the this year. So I'm going to be showing you the project I did for the last unit, Unit 6, I think. And if I have more time, I'll show you other bits I've done. So I'm going to quickly play you a short video of that project. Okay, so that was a quick one, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a presentation. So the project is called Tech 5, and it's kind of like an exploration about Chrome extensions to help a little bit with anxiety while browsing. So I wanted to kind of like use the tools we already have and see how we could tweak them to help with mental health, like anxiety. So yeah, I kind of use a JavaScript library that's called handtrack.js in the end. Sorry, hands-free.js, even though there were quite a few other ones like handtrack.js or bodypics, because like hands-free allow me to like do different gestures and be more precise with like the fingers and the positions, which is what I needed. The reason why I decided to do hands is basically because I did a lot of research about how maybe like touch can soothe anxiety and how, for example, we fidget a lot when we are anxious and stressed. So yeah, this is me kind of like working out the library, and I got to talk to the developer, which was really cool. So shout out to him. And so yeah, this is a lot of me playing with a console and trying to work out the objects because there isn't that much like documentation about this library, and like sometimes of me trying to do pinches, because I also read about how like pinching and like touching beads, for example, that kind of motion can help us de-stress. So then I kind of like train my own gestures, and in the screen you can see the background reacting to my own specific trained gestures. And these are a lot of like different kind of like sketches I was doing, also using P5 to see what would be helpful and what sort of interactions I could do with my hands. And yeah, so I also did kind of like a participatory workshop to see and to figure out what other like interactions people wanted, and kind of like this helped me to with the whole idea of like maybe using audio, or for example like covering certain parts of the screen. So that'd be quite helpful. Some more testing, and also like thought about the color scheme to help with anxiety. So yeah, it was basically like a I also did some Chrome extension coding, which I've never done before, and I didn't know you could. So that was very interesting to figure out. And on the screen you can see some bits I was doing to test how to do Chrome extensions, and the final outcome is a series of different Chrome extensions. It's 3 of them, and each of them do help in a different way. So for example, this one, which is called Quietly, kind of like helps to cover up certain part of the screen, and you can move and read only the parts you want. Mindlessly, it's just kind of like an exploration of like having something in the side of the screen you can play with your hands, like you would play with like a stress ball or something while you still browse. And gradually, when you open a new tab, it will ask you to rate from 1 to 5 how you're feeling and how overwhelmed you are. And depending how you feel and what you rating you give, it gives you a different interaction that would make you stay in the page longer or shorter, depending how much rest you need. And yeah, that's it. And I think I've got a little bit more time. So I'm going to show you some of the projects I worked during the diploma. This one is Commonplace, and it was kind of like a 24-hour community journal where people could type, I think that you have, everyone going to play this in the meantime, where people could go and type how they were feeling in a website, and it would get live printed in the communal receipt printer. And it was really lovely. People really interacted with it, and you can see their whole receipt in the end. I'm very interested in kind of like emotional connections and emotional intelligence through tech. So that's kind of like what my projects fall into. And like Jade said, we did a lot of like small projects during the course, which was so good. And you have some machine learning one there, some Arduino small sketches. Yeah, so this is my website in case anyone wants to check some of the small bits you've been doing during the course. And that's about me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rocio. Because we're a bit ahead of time, I wanted to take the time as well to say that I've had the absolute pleasure of working with Rocio over the last few months, and she's been developing a video series called Falling in Love with Creative Computing, which is basically a series that she's been hosting where she talks to students who have come back to their course and have all this new skill set of creative computing tools to use in their own practice. And she interviews them and asks questions about how was their experience. So just a shout out to Rocio for the work that she's done. And I would definitely encourage you to check out our YouTube channel for that content, because it's really amazing. And yeah, it's been a pleasure working with her. So thanks a lot for your presentation. Now we've got the next student who is Mark Gotto. Mark, the mic is yours.
Hi, thanks, Georgina. My name's Mark. I'm from the illustration program on at Camberwell campus. Creative computing has been a huge learning curve. I didn't know how to code at all at the beginning of the course. So I've come so far in progress. This project was called Connect. I was really interested in the communication between humans and like how far that has taken us through our kind of our species and our development. So if I play this little clip, this is the development of my piece. So I was using a program called HandTrack.js, which tracks your hand. It's a machine learning program. And so I developed the piece by getting the parts of the code to
Mark,
no,
sorry to interrupt you. I believe you're not screen sharing.
Oh,
because
yeah?
we can't see anything on screen. Sorry to interrupt you again.
No problem.
Just wanted to let you know.
Okay, cool.
I think it's working now. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, cool. No problem. Let me take that back. Okay, so yeah, this was my project called Connect. So yeah, using a hand track model. So it tracks your hands using the coordinates. So I managed to harness the coordinates to track your hand, and then you can almost make it act like a trigger. So yeah, this is me. Yeah, this was 3D printing. I did so much 3D printing, as you'll see later on. But yeah, I managed to get HandTrack.js working as a trigger, so you can see that. Yeah, and then I managed to siphon it through an Arduino so that you could track your hand and then make different lights come up, as you can see here. And yeah, the idea was to levitate ping pong balls. So this is getting humans to interact with technology, and when the power from when man combines with machine. And if I can play you my showcase final piece, and hopefully you can hear the sound.
Hey, Mark, sorry to interrupt again. I think your screen share just stopped working.
Okay.
For some reason. Do you want to check?
Are we in?
Yes, it's working now. It's working now. Just to note that probably the audio won't be audible here since we are screen sharing. So maybe we can share a YouTube link or some sort of file where people can go back to watch this, or is this up on UAL's graduate
Yeah,
showcase?
no, this is up on the showcase, and it's also a video
Amazing.
file.
Okay, we'll be sharing that later.
So what, have you got visuals?
Yes, we can
But
see
just,
it on the
just no
screen.
sound, yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, using the hand track JS, I managed to levitate these ping pong balls. And it creates an experience where the user can interact with machines in a new and innovative way, combining man and machine and using technology as an extension of oneself. And it's a shame you can't hear the music because it makes it much more epic, but let's not worry about that. Yeah, and so this project's been huge for me, and it's really prepared me for next year massively. I'm really excited to see what's next. Really, it's opened up a whole new world, and yeah, that's about all I have.
Thank you, Mark. That was amazing and quite epic. If we didn't have the audio, so we'll make sure that we share the URL to your work so people can check later as well. Okay, that's
great.
All good.
Cool, thanks.
Amazing. Thanks for your presentation, Mark. We've got our last student here today, Gabrielle. Hi, Gabrielle. Oh, you're muted, by the way. Just make sure.
I just realized. Hi.
Amazing.
Hello. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. Sorry, there we go. So I'm not sure if you can. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, cool. So I'm just double checking that it's visible, and I'm just going to go ahead and start. So in my project, I was mainly focused on trying to create something that okay, I will just start from where I started. So what I done was I started to challenge myself creating a website a day. As I said, I was doing user interface and user interaction. So, but my course, I feel like was heavily research based. So I wanted to just challenge how we view websites and how people interact with web design. Like I'm heavily interested in web design and also how we interact with it. So that's why that was my main focus coming onto CCI and my main thing I wanted to improve and develop on. So then I started to do a personal project of my own on the side where I used the skills and resources learned from our course that Joel would share us, or that we would learn from our the more computing unit. And that's when I started to look at 3D websites, how people could look at websites in a different way. And this is a lyric website I made. This one is a weird little dress-up game website I made. And then this one was with 3D. The thing about CCI for me that I thought I should just throw in was that I feel learning from other people was really amazing too. I had no idea how to do 3D design, and that's not web design, but I benefited in that way as well. So that was crazy to me. These are just a bit of it. I'll just run through these ones. And then when we started to use our projects to do Arduino, so that's me just practicing how to use Arduino and other kind of ways to interact with our computers. So I had that little, I've completely forgotten the name, which is terrible, but I think it's an resistor or something. No, it's not a resistor, but something. And then I use that when it bends, it then interacts with the person on the screen and making them jump. So I was playing games without using the actual mouse pad, which when we came to our final project that's on the graduation, oh yeah, you could follow my Instagram to see more of my projects that I've done. My website a day challenge. So when we now came to our final project, I thought, it would be the goal was to involve machine learning, but I thought that would be ideal if I could do that through web design. How would we interact with websites? So that's when I decided I wanted to do, because lockdown and being taught through Zoom, I wanted to change the way we we done that, because I felt like being online and teaching that, like learning that way, it was actually very good, to be honest, but it was like you're not as present as you'd be in the physical space, like obviously. So I was like, what, maybe we could physically interact with the computer screen so that we feel more present. And then that's why I thought, okay, so I'm going to create this kind of comical, nostalgic game that like reflects online school, but like in the future, and we physically interact with how we learn and how we like use the website. So you just show your ID card to the screen, and that would look you into the game as who you are. I've made little ID cards for each of the characters. So this would be a perfect time for me to present it. I've got like 1 more minute, so I'll just run through it quickly. So you've got each character here on like their own little ID card, and obviously when you select the character, it will take you into the game We Score, and it just takes a little while to load. So you can interact in the space. Essentially, that would be a multiplayer character that would join. I've just put that there as a demo. And then if you go onto another ID card, for example, you can experience something slightly different, like this one. She's like a little gossip. So she's just spreading gossip about the school and people she doesn't like. So yeah, that's what I did in the end. And I thought like using that machine learning was really amazing for me to do, and a cool way of me changing how I interact with web design. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabrielle. That was amazing. Also, I wanted to thank you personally to you as well, because you developed the graphics for this event, for the diploma show party. So also shout out for you to do that work as well.
Thank you.
And I guess now is the time to just have everyone back, and we can get the Q&A little conversation started in the end.
Thank you so much, you lot. Like, I already knew you were awesome, but even seeing these projects, it's just so amazing to see how far everyone's come, especially, you know, with all the diverse backgrounds of everyone coming from different courses and stuff, and different varies of experience, and especially knowledge around coding. But I'm bowing down to all of you. It's awesome.
It's really amazing. Also, before we jump onto the conversations, I wanted, of course, to give a shout out to all the students that are not present on the screen today, because there's plenty of other interesting work that is actually available on the UAL's Graduate Showcase platform. And I just wanted to maybe take the time to quickly show you around the page, just so you know where to find all this beautiful content. So if you go to graduateshowcase.arts.ac.uk, you can just browse through literally all the work that all students across UAL, in all colleges, all courses have developed in their graduation. So if you go to the Creative Computing Institute section, you'll find the work that all the diploma students have developed. So here's just a demo of how the platform runs. But again, like, there's so many other work and projects that are super interesting there. For example, this one from Agatha. You have a bit of explanation about who the creative, the artist is, and then just an explanation about the project. You have like all the video content available there. You have some bits about the research and process. So that is all available there. And then you can just browse using all the themes and tags there as well. So, you know, yeah, a big shout out to everyone who was involved in this year's diploma, but just couldn't be on the screen today. You've all done an amazing work. So yeah, just wanted to say that before we jump on the conversation. Okay, so we have a few questions that maybe I would like to pick up from earlier. So yeah, that very relevant comment from Tom, that one was for you, Joel. Amazing. Then we had another one from, yeah, the duck. I think the duck always gets a lot of attention. Tom saying, sounds great, Joel. Wish stuff like this was around when I was younger. Yeah, that is something we get a lot as well. These are beautiful. And then we had one from Bethany for Joseph particularly. What advice would you give to people with barely any experience of creative computing before coming on the course? I guess that's something that everyone could reply in a way as well, but let's start with Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it, like the course is definitely designed so that you can just sort of hit the ground running with no coding experience and get like up to speed quickly, like provided that you're like willing to put the work in. Like if you actually put in whatever, even if you put in like 2 hours a day and just sit in front of like the P5 window and just make stuff, like you're going to be well ahead of everybody else by after the first 2 weeks or whatever, So like in terms of like looking into stuff before you get to like onto the course, it's not necessary, but I would say that it definitely could not hurt. Like I did like just like a really small amount of coding like over the summer, just like reading into it and just getting to grips with like just more like the jargon and like what all the words mean and stuff, because that's gonna like it'll just means that you can go faster and start learning things faster. So yeah, it couldn't hurt, but if you have literally zero coding experience, then it's still easily doable if you put the work in. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else like has a contrary opinion to that, but yeah.
No, I think it can be quite intimidating, all the code, masses of code. It's like, what does that mean? But like, yeah, if you just chisel it bit by bit, like you say, day by day, you start before you know it, you're coding, and we're all coders now.
Amazing. Would anyone else like to contribute on that front? Okay, I guess we can go ahead. So yeah, another one from Bethany. Would you encourage learning a general overview of the units in the course beforehand?
So I can jump on that one. I'm happy to jump in on that. I'd say it's always good to know the structure of the thing that you're signing up for. Like I would definitely advise that. You can get in contact with me via the CCI website, and I'm happy to go into any amount of detail about the courses and the units coming up. We've also got this amazing Slack channel where everyone gets invited to, and you'll be invited onto that if you get accepted onto the diploma itself. But I just wanted to actually put that question out to everyone else, particularly people who haven't spoken yet. Rocio, Gabrielle, or Jade, I just wanted you to share your experiences about like how much programming experience you had before you came on the course, and any tips or advice you'd have for people who are thinking about it, or those kind of things.
I'll jump on that. I think one of the things that really helped me before joining the course, just to like mentally prepare, because I didn't have an experience at all, was going through Joel's GitHub, and like I felt like going through what his notes and what was already there, trying not to spoil it for myself in the future, but like still going through and having an idea what was going to happen really helped me. So if you can, if that will help you, like for example, searching what JavaScript is, and maybe going on YouTube and searching a little bit, so you have kind of like a basic knowledge, that's going to be so useful to at least know what people are talking about when you join. But definitely you go from bottom up when you go there, so you don't have to have the knowledge. But I think that was something that personally helped me.
Yeah, sorry. I think like the best resource is the coding train. If you want to have like an exciting
shout out to the coding train.
Yeah, it's like
wrap up to Daniel
it's so chaotic, but it makes you feel like it's a bit more accessible and manageable. And also not to put pressure on yourself to understand it before you've begun the course, because it is beginner friendly. And so I gave myself quite a hard time at the beginning for like not understanding, but actually if you trust the process and trust what people are telling you about how to work well and solve problems effectively, you will manage it and you'll be okay, and you'll turn out at the end of the course as a coder, which is exciting.
Making iOS apps, Jade. You didn't think you'd be doing that at the beginning of the year, did you?
Not at all.
and the key word that I give to everyone is the thing that Dory says in all of the Finding Nemo films, which is just keep swimming, right? The key thing to all of this stuff is to get into a practice. And actually outside of coding, just generally for whatever your practice is going to be in your life, is just this attitude of going, okay, taking a breath and just keep on chipping away at it. I think, like Joseph was saying, trying to get into daily habits, just a daily process of just going in, like learning to run or learning to play an instrument or whatever else it is. It really comes in when you can get into a daily practice. And I think, but even more important than all those things is what Jade said, which is just being kind to yourself, right? Just being nice to yourself about it, because I think we all know it's such an anxious and stressful time that we're in, quite apart from learning how to code or anything else like that. So just those practices of self-care and being kind to each other and yourself is really the most important thing, I think, for sustainability, because you can't do it all on your own. So you've got to learn how to collaborate. And I think that's another strength of the diploma, is this community feeling that we get all together. And it's really down to the students, right? It's not even really about me as a tutor or the other people teaching on the course or the larger structure. It's really about this extraordinary group of diplomats that have come together and are going to know each other for the rest of their lives. The final spoiler I'm going to give away is this rubber duck, which is this idea of rubber duck debugging, which is I give everyone a rubber duck on the course so that if you're stuck with something, you can just ask the rubber duck the question, and actually quite often, just by asking the question, you'll come up with the answer yourself. I'm going to stop talking now.
That was amazing. Thanks, Joel. Thank you so much for sharing that. We have a question from Tom, which says, how do you think the course has changed you as a person? Who would like to go for this one?
I think I would start. So I feel like that's really what the most like change, the thing that I got the most from this course is like literally changing as a person. And I keep saying, like, I know I was doing user interface and interaction. So like when I say that, people are like, oh, so why did you do CCI? But I feel like just the atmosphere, the people I met, and like even right down to like everything about the course, the resources, I've just learned how to like literally what Joel said, be an autodidact. Like honestly, I know how to teach myself. Before I was that student that's always like, oh, but that doesn't make sense when I'm presenting it doesn't relate to anything. And I feel like I've learned how to find resources and how to like get an idea for what I want to create, as well as when I need to speak to someone, how to ask questions like simply, and just be open to like asking, like messaging random people in Instagram and being like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. How did you do that? Like it was very beneficial. Like I loved it. I've said like a couple million times, but yes, I really did change so much that I'm very more open to ask questions and speak to people, even though we were in lockdown, which was shocking. Yeah.
Would someone else like to add? Yeah, William?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure about in terms of changing as a person, but I'll tell you the one thing that was quite refreshing is I came from a fine art course doing photography at Camberwell, and it's a totally different course in terms of how it's taught and how it's structured. It's only more independent, and the CCI year actually kind of appreciated having more kind of lectures and class orientated teaching methods, and I actually really enjoyed that. And fortunately, because I guess it's teaching you a new tool, right? It's a new creative tool that you can facilitate your art practice with, and actually just really enjoyed that. It was quite nice going back to kind of basics of starting at square one and learning something. And then, I've really enjoyed actually coming out of the course with something, which I'll be using when I return to my original course.
Thank you, William. Anyone else would like to add? Oh yeah, we've got one last one from Tom. Now that you finished, what will happen next? Will you stay in touch and keep accessing the resources? What do you all think?
Yeah, I think we're still on the Slack channel, and obviously we all now know each other. So I think probably like the greatest resource that you get from like the CCI is like having like a load of people to go running to help to when you're stuck with something, right? So like we have a Facebook group chat that's literally called like CCI Diploma Mental Breakdown Support, or something along those
That
lines.
was my call. I decided that from the beginning of the course, and I'm really happy I did that.
Yeah. It's such an apt like description of what happens there, because like it's like every 2 days there's like, I don't know, some huge drama about like somebody's code, nothing works, that it's like, yeah, but it's good. So it's a nice, yeah, I think that's a great, like, I don't know if that's like really what you mean by resource, but I think that's like the best, you know, most useful part of it. And then like obviously I think we're still, I mean obviously like the tutors are great for references and stuff, so it's good to know, have all that stuff behind you if you are working on something computing based in the future, right?
Beautiful. Thanks, Joseph. I guess we made it to the end of the event, unless there's anything else that you would like to add. Mark, I see you've unmuted yourself.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I'm sure we're going to keep in touch because, you know, the community is where it's at. And, you know, as being a part of Slack as well, it opens up all these opportunities. There's like a category which is just opportunities, and there's stuff being posted like almost daily in there. And it's just, yeah, it's really impressive, the kind of potential that this course has given us all. So, yeah, for sure going to stay in touch.
Yeah, and I'd also say, oh, sorry, no, you go.
No, go for it. No point. Yeah.
Like, even if you're not doing the coding course or for whatever reason, like you can contact any of us. I have literally saved every resource that's been given to me. So if you ever want like a tutorial or you see work, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like any of us would be happy to share resources or like tips, especially, or even if you are doing the coding course and we can show you some like intro stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because my DMs are open always.
Rocio, were you about to say something else before?
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to say that all the GitHub pages are my lifesaver, so I'll definitely go back to them. We also have like a diploma one we did this year. You can check some resources if that's any help at all.
Beautiful. I will second what Kathy just posted on the chat as well, that it's so beautiful to see how you all support each other. I think that's definitely something that it's worth saying because it's very unique about the diploma. And for some reason, every year, the same sort of energy is created in the room. And it's very inspiring to see you all working and just creating that atmosphere, because I think that's the best way to go when it comes to learning, just having fun and supporting each other. And I think that's what makes this course so unique. So with that said, I think I'm just gonna thank you all for contributing today. Thank you to every single person who's watching. It's been great to hear you. Joel, Gabrielle, Mark, Jade, Joseph, William, and Rocio. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks for all the students who made this course possible as well and who uploaded all their work in the UAL Graduate Showcase platform. I would definitely encourage you to have a look at the platform and browse through all the projects that are there, because it's truly amazing. You have the link at the bottom of the screen. And with that said, I think, yeah, we'll just say goodbye to everyone. And thank you all for watching. As you know, we are on UAL_CCI on Twitter and Instagram, and all the information about the courses, you can find them on arts.ac.uk/CCI. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you in the future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.